First, I would like to thank the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, the committee members, committee staff, and the speaker for all of the work that they've done to produce this forward-looking budget, to move us through the COVID-19 pandemic and to give us a good start when we leave that pandemic behind. I would like to highlight, as the chair of the Committee on People with Disabilities, some of the many measures that will help our many residents with disabilities. This proposal increases OPWDD funding well over the executive's proposal. It rejects the executive's OPWDD proposed rate reduction. It restores just about all, if not all, of the executive's proposed cuts to our most vulnerable, helped by OPWDD. For those concerned about jobs, this proposal restores all of the human services cost of living increases, all of the human services cost of living increases, effective April 1. And it provides money to meet the minimum wage, all to make these difficult but low-paying jobs more attractive. It also restores monies in the education area. We put back monies the executive was going to cut for children with disabilities, for the 4201 schools, for special schools like schools for the deaf and the blind. And we even put $500,000 for dyslexia screenings. And we rejected the executive's proposal, which would allow school districts to gut IEP requirements by seeking a waiver from SED. We've put back monies and we're proposing temporary changes to the rate setting methodology, which has hampered our 4410 and our 853 and our special act schools during this pandemic. We've put in $2 million for programs to help higher education students with disabilities. In general, we've done a lot of good things for people with disabilities. The question was raised, why would we tax more when we're receiving federal funds? Well, there are several reasons. First of all, federal funds are one-time monies. And I want to suggest to you it's not fiscally responsible to use one-time monies for bills we get every year. If we were going to fill the budget holes with just the one-time monies, we would hear colleagues yelling and screaming and saying it's fiscally irresponsible to use a one-time windfall. So we're not using the one-time windfall to balance the budget going forward. We're using federal funds by and large for one-time expenses, to reimburse the monies the pandemic has drained from our schools, from our not-for-profits, from our small businesses, and then also to set aside monies for the same purposes for next year. Secondly, we need recurring revenues to pay for recurring needs that have not been met and have been aggravated by the pandemic. We're raising taxes on those who benefited while everyone suffered. Those making $1 million, $5 million, $25 million each year. We're raising taxes on those who benefited. Why? So we could stabilize property taxes. We're raising taxes on those who benefited so we can restore the middle class tax cuts. I repeat, we're not taxing the middle class. We're going to continue the middle class tax cuts. Nobody's mentioned that yet today. We're raising taxes, yes, but on those who are making lots of money. And we're going to make sure we continue the tax cuts for the middle class. You know, I hear complaints about property taxes, not income taxes. People are leaving because of the property taxes. So we've got to choose. Are we going to have the state meet more needs? Or are we going to leave that to our local school districts and to our local governments who can only increase property taxes to meet those needs? So some ask, can we afford all of this? We are not in a situation where we can afford to not do it. Somebody said, how much is enough? Well, I want to ask those in group homes who don't have access to the internet if we're doing enough. Ask those 50 and 60-year-olds with disabilities who still live with their 80-year-old parents because they're waiting to move into a group home if we're doing enough. Ask those who are standing on food lines throughout the state if we're doing enough. Ask those who can't pay their rent or the small landlords who need that rent if we're doing enough. This budget is a sign that we're done with austerity budgets, that we recognize the needs of our communities, and that we're going to start to meet all of those needs. I urge my colleagues to vote in the affirmative. I will vote in the affirmative.